this game. So now we have Queen's Gambit declined. Knight f3, Knight f6, so far so good. Bishop e6. Well, the best move, or the book move, turned out to be Bishop e7, or h6 first and then Bishop e7. So we have to deal with this pin first, otherwise we cannot move the queen. Our queen is stuck here. And Bishop e6 doesn't do anything, to be honest. It divides the bishop for sure, but I mean the bishop is stuck between these two pawns, and also the b7 pawn will be hanging after bishop e7. So I will move the bishop to, or divide the bishop later. So maybe f5. So this diagonal is way better than bishop e6. But as I said, I think we need to, for example, castle first, castle quickly, and also unpin the knight. And also our d5 pawn is quite safe, so we don't have to move the bishop to e6. So bishop e6, knight c3, and bishop e7. This is good. And queen b3. Yeah, this pawn is hanging. This is a little bit awkward to defend the pawn. So b6, but this light squares are becoming weak. e3, castle, bishop to d3. And since we already have the pawn to b6, I think we can push the c pawn, attack the center, threatening c4. And we have developed majority of pieces, so, and also our king is safe. We can push the pawn. I play h6, it's good, and knight e4. Well, to be honest, I think this is the trick that is not necessary, because I can see it how it comes from. We kind of tricking our opponent to see, do you want to take the knight? Do you want to win in the pawn? But actually, I have a discover attack. But I mean, sometimes it's not wise to play this trick, in my opinion, because if that makes our position bad. For example, so white didn't care about this knight e4, and if we take the knight, I mean, we have to move knight sooner or later, because white do have one more piece at e4. So when we take the knight, actually it favors white. White will have, for example, taking that with the queen. The queen is getting to the c file, attacking our pawn. It's just to make the queen from b3 to c3, from b3 to a semi-open file. So yeah, I mean it slows down our, for example, c5. Queen c, yeah. Now we play c5. Rook to c1. We close the c file. Do we have to push the c pawn? Should we keep it closed, or we have bishop protecting that? Can we play knight c6? But well, maybe white play b3 and we cannot push the pawn anymore. Okay, c4 is good, but we have to keep the e4 in our control. Otherwise, after e4, our pawn structure will be destroyed. So for example, can white play e4? But not right now, probably, because if we attack the queen, and also, yeah, or maybe if f5 is coming, can we take that with the queen? We have a very strong queen. Defend c4. And the thing is, we have a bishop protecting c4, and light square bishop cannot attack our c4 for now. So e4 is not as dangerous as I expect. So knight c6 is quite good. b3, while he's starting to attack the center, b5 is good. Queen c2, f5. So now black is better. Black has a good control of center and very great space at the queen side. Bishop to d6, offer exchange. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Queen c3, b4. And we push a c3. So now I have a question, do we have to push the c3 right now, or do we have any other move? Can we move the knight rook to c8? Oh, well, lose c4 apparently, so c3 is good, knight f3. But the next question, how can we further attack the queen side? These two files are closed. Can we have another file open? For example, if a file. So once the a file is opened, since we have a lot more space than our opponent at the queen side, it's easier for us to maneuver pieces to double the rooks, for example. And white cannot, and also this bishop is really awkward here. I think we can control the a file and move our pieces further in. We play e5, that's quite good. Queen e2, bishop a6, bishop d3, knight e7. What are we doing here? What is the purpose of knight e7? Do we want to push the f pawn? Okay, maybe we want to move the knight to e7, g6 to push the f pawn. I have a question. Since we only play a5, why do we move bishop to c8? We want to move bishop a6, but white can defend this attack very easily. So my point is, we should keep pushing pawns. This is our plan. We should make the moves consistent and double the rooks and later exchange, and then we can move the rook further in. So 97, yeah, so now the bishop c8, we cannot move bishop a6 anymore. And if we push a pawn, these two rooks are not connected, which means it makes it hard for the rook to the queen side. So what about f4 to push the pawn at the king side? 97, 90. Yeah, f4 looks good. F4 looks good. Because as for f4, if white doesn't take a pawn, we can exchange that and we can create backward pawn. If I take that, this pawn is isolated pawn. And if e4, this is still an isolated pawn. So f4 is something we can think about. We can destroy the pawn structure. Bishop a6, we offer exchange. Okay, we exchange all the pieces. But actually this exchange favors white, because if you have a good opportunity, so first of all, I think we have greater space. We have much greater space than our opponent. We have pawn structure higher up, and white have pawns at a very low position, which means we have greater space than our opponent. And if you have greater space than your opponent, trading pieces favors your opponent, because when you have greater space, you have a lot. Both sides have many pieces on the board. It makes it, I mean, we are the side that feels easy to maneuver pieces because we have greater space. So look at the bishop. The bishop really make the maneuver of the knight really difficult. So this exchange doesn't bring any value to us, but it favors our opponent. It simplifies the position, right? And also, I do think our queen is better than the white queen. White queen only control these squares, but our queen, look at the squares. We are controlling a lot more squares than our opponent. So trading pieces doesn't favor us. Knight d3, you see the knight has moved to d3. This is good space. Knight can go to e5 later. Knight g6 and a3. Yeah. So now white wants to attack our pawns. So advancing the pawn has a benefit, that is we can expand the space. I have mentioned that. But there is also a downside we have to be aware. That is, if the pawn are too far away from a majority of pieces, it's easy to be attacked because it's closer to your opponent, right? For example, db4 pawn. It's very close to the knight. So that is a problem. We protect the pawn. Take g3. White defending f4. Rook to c8. Can we still play f4? If white take that, I figure out very good path for knight move to f3. White cannot defend it. Maybe knight e4, knight e5, and we can probably set the rooks free, rook a3 to attack this pawn. And if white play f3, this e3 pawn is hanging, and this is great weakness. And we can also control the a file. Not a, we'll lose this pawn for sure. Rook a8, and we can control this file. Rook a1, check, do, take the pawn, take the rook. Can we take this one? No, rook g2, c2, rook d2. The problem is white cannot take the rook. There's a background problem. Take this one, knight f3. There's a mate. But this is not easy to find. This is not easy to find. So yeah, we play rook c8, but it's not very helpful because the pawn is already protected. So if white want to attack these two pawns, white wouldn't attack c3 first. White would attack b4. So white would move the rook to the a file, attack b4. This is what white did. So maybe rook a8 is better, rook a1, but I understand it's really hard to fight against the a file because we have to protect the b4. Can we move the knight to c6? I mean, at least we can protect the pawn, right? Rook c8, rook a1, rook b7, rook ba. So this is passive. This is not as good at using a knight to protect pawn because we have two rooks protect the pawn, which a knight plus a rook is attacking. Knight c5, rook b5, knight d7. Oh, then we lose the pawn, right? So maybe knight e7, knight c6, protect the pawn with the rook, with the knight, and then we can set one of the rook free. But now we lost a pawn, and also after losing the b4, we will soon lose c5, c3. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So after losing two pawns, it's really hard for us to fight back. Yeah. So white is clearly winning if you see the engine bar. So if that's a knight pawn endgame, it's pretty similar as a king pawn's endgame. And if once I have up two pawns, it's really hard for the other side to fight back. And that's it. We don't have to walk through the rest of the game. So I think the main focus of this one is, I think the opening is good. It's good. This exchange is not a big problem. I think we getting better and better. I think the main problem is, yeah, the bishop trade, and also I don't see the purpose with 97. So the bishop trade minimize our advantage on the board. So I would think about push f4 or even move the bishop back to e6 or d7. This is better than trading the bishop and also trading the queens. So actually we can trade that with the rook, right? And then we can double the rook a4. But trading queen is not good. Our queen and the bishop are better than the counterparts of our opponent. I think that's the main learning from this game.